Hello, I'm going to talk to you about whether or not you should quit your job. For anyone who knows me, I recently quit my job and just decided that I didn't want to do it anymore and then got a completely new career. And what I kind of want to say about that is that I didn't take that decision lightly. Like, I fully thought it through and kind of came to the conclusion that it was better for me to cut my losses and to find something else. And so, what I would advise you if you are thinking about the fact that you hate your job and you're wondering whether or not you should stick with it or not, what I would suggest is that you kind of go through a thought process about it. So I'm going to share with you what I did, and then hopefully that'll help you too. I think that for some people, the thought of hating your job can be easily addressed if you can reframe your thoughts about it. Sometimes it can help you fall back in love with your job. For some people, particularly in my case initially, my job was something that I absolutely loved. Like, I loved it. Like, it was the career, my vocation. I really thought I'd made a really, really good decision. And so when I started to dislike it, I kind of was a little bit disheartened and kind of thinking, I can't possibly find something else. I don't know what else I want to do. I don't know if I'll be able to find something I like as much and things like that. So um, I did try to kind of, reframe my thoughts and kind of think, okay, all these negative things that I'm thinking and experiences that I'm having, can I view them in different ways? So, for example, can I view them as learning opportunities? Can I view them as ways to help me grow? You're not going to be happy with everything in your job. It's just not possible. Like, unless you're very fortunate, there's always going to be something that you dislike. And so you've got to kind of focus on the fact that most of it's good and that you can deal with the rubbishy stuff, but the majority of it is enjoyable, or that you get kind of benefits from it. And my old job, there were a lot of benefits to it. Like, I loved teaching. I was in flow when I was teaching. I felt very confident. I felt very self-assured. I was very kind of assertive in my role with my students, and I got on well with my colleagues. I had kind of like a social life within work, which was great. I'd worked there for so long that I'd built really close bonds with people. That meant that there was no kind of small talk. It was more interesting conversations. There was a lot of people there that were on my level intellectually, and so conversation was a lot more interested than what it is with other people. And so there was a lot of kind of benefits, and as well, like, my old role meant that I had a lot of opportunity to develop skills in other areas. So, for example, the tasks that I were doing were not like teacher tasks, they were like project management tasks, they were kind of like marketing tasks, they were like event management tasks. Like, there was so many different facets to my role because of the way that our organisation was structured, that I got experience in, that it really developed me as a person. And I think, at the time, I perhaps wasn't as grateful as what I probably should have been for those experiences. I look back now and I think I made a really good choice to work for that organisation, because as bad as it was at times, it made me into who I am now and made me very skilled and very employable. Like, I could literally get a job elsewhere now because I've had that experience of being there. And obviously, it's not just that organisation. I've worked at various other organisations that have given me similar, skills and things like that. But that was a good kind of place to have your fingers in many pies, if you will. So I would advise that's kind of the first thing to think, like, what kind of benefits are you getting out of your job, and can you put up with the negatives? Because if you can, if you get a job elsewhere, it's probably going to be quite similar, and you're probably going to, for all the good things, you're probably going to have all the bad things, and it might be worse. That's kind of something to kind of consider. Now, the other thing to think about is, if it's affecting you negatively, to really kind of assess your personality and whether your personality fits with that organisation. So, for example, my past organisation really kind of liked people who were extroverted and who like to kind of say how good they were and kind of do everything and say yes to everything, and basically spend all their time at work. So spend weekends and evenings at the drop of a hat. They were fine with that. That, you know, people who enjoyed being in meetings and talking about not very important things, like they enjoyed people like that. People that like to be social, people that like to kind of make friends with everybody. That was kind of the typical person that they promoted and whatever else. Now, if that's your personality, then that's great. You're going to do very well at that organisation. Now, unfortunately for me, I was quite an introverted person within, within my organisation, and I was the type of person who my values were that I wanted the best for my students rather than the organisation. So my focus was on working hard to make sure that they had everything that they needed, and that I did everything for them. So I kind of neglected the role of the organisation and took my own trumpet and kind of volunteering for everything and public speaking and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't for me. It gave me quite bad anxiety to be just dropped in situations without preparation, and having to stand in front of a room full of people and just ad lib it without preparation. Like, I can't do that. I need to prepare. Similarly, I couldn't work well in loud environments, and the staff room area had like 30-40 people in it, so imagine the volume of noise there. It was impossible to work in those conditions. I needed to work somewhere quiet, and there wasn't anywhere in the college to go and work that was quiet. So it doesn't, my old organisation didn't cater for introverts. It was a very extroverted kind of workplace, which is fine if you're an extrovert. So what I kind of thought to myself was, that environment is not good for me. So I kind of tried to put measures in place where I would kind of remove myself from the situation, and I'd try and work in somewhere else, or if there was anywhere, like there was generally not really many places to work, or I'd go and sit in my car for a bit, or I tried strategies to kind of approach that and deal with that. And I think if you can do that, then that's great. If you can speak to management and get them to meet your needs, then that's great. But unfortunately my old organisation wasn't in a position to do that. So that was one thing that I kind of thought about. My personality didn't fit with that organisation, so I kind of thought, I can't really stay working for them because I won't prosper here. And then the other thing to consider as well is, like, the job that you've got, the job above it, would you do that job? Because we all want to feel like we're kind of like working towards something, and we're kind of working towards being promoted and developing ourselves and growing. And not for me personally, it wasn't for any power or anything like that. It was more to make more of a difference and to challenge myself, to grow my skills and things like that, that I would want to kind of progress. But the job that I would be progressing into wasn't something that I wanted to do, because, like I mentioned before, it was about public speaking, it was about being extroverted, it was about dealing with stakeholders of various ilks, and I was just kind of like, that's not a job that I look at and think I really want to do that. Like, I wanted to work on the ground with the students, or work on implementing change or systems, or and the organisation was severely lacking in systems, which means that wasn't an opening that I could walk into. So when I kind of analysed all these things, I kind of thought, this job is not for me. So I started to think, okay, what else could I do? So I started to think about, what were the things that I really, really hated about my old job that I would really enjoy in a new job, so like the opposite of. So for example, from working in a really noisy environment, I know that personally I need to work in a quiet environment. So anywhere where there's like less people, or I'm in office on my own or something like that, that would be a great environment for me to work in. Similarly, one of the things that really was making me unhappy in my old job was that I didn't have control over my schedule. So I used to have control of my schedule, and then I got promoted, and then things just kept getting dropped in, and I'd have to do these tasks and that tasks because it was what the manager wanted, and it wasn't based on the tasks needed doing straight away or anything like that. It was just because it was on a whim. She just wanted them done, for her own ease of anxieties, but not any consideration of my work schedule or what was more crucial for my workload. And I wasn't assertive enough at the time to say, no, I'm not doing that because I've got other things I need to do. So unfortunately, because of everything that was kind of happening, it meant that my schedule was just all over the place all the time, and that gave me a lot of anxiety. So I like to have control over my schedule. So any jobs where I can kind of decide what I want to do day in, day out. Obviously there might be some things that are fixed, but with a lot of flexibility, that's great for me. Similarly, what's really good for me is like flexi time and being able to work from home and stuff like that, because you know, sometimes you work better in quiet environments and more relaxed environments, and sometimes like I'm an evening person, I work better at night. So, you know, I'm better if I start work later and finish later, and I do a lot of things in the city centre in Manchester. So it's good for me if I start work later, because then after I finish work I can go straight into town, so I get the morning to kind of like to myself, or just to sleep longer so I can stay up longer at night. So there was kind of like things like that that I considered. Also in my old role, I didn't like working evenings. I hated working evenings because it impacted on my social life, and they wanted me to work weekends and stuff, and I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, that's not something that I want to do, because that time's my time. And so I didn't want to be in a job that was like that. Similarly, I didn't want to be in a job that had like overbearing management who didn't really know what they were doing, but they pretended like they did, because that was in my old role. And so, you know, like I wanted a job where I had a better relationship with managers who were more competent, and managers who, you know, actually knew what they were doing instead of pretending like they did. And lots of other things as well. Like, I properly thought through every little thing that was making me unhappy, every little thing that was making me happy, and then I kind of thought, right, what else could I do? So I just randomly searched for things. I didn't even like purposely set out to find anything. But what I knew that I wanted was that I wanted to be in an environment that was a university environment. I felt like I needed to be around people that were smarter than me, because I wasn't around people that were smarter than me. And I wanted to be learning from other people. So I wanted to be in a university environment, and I thought, okay, what's the best university that's near me? Manchester University. So I want to work at Manchester University. So I kind of like thought to myself, right, let's look what jobs there are. Let's see what I can do. Let's see what's within, because I didn't want to take a massive pay cut. And I wanted to kind of get a job that was, you know, of a similar pay level. I was willing to go a couple of thousand lower, but I was kind of like, I want a kind of similar job, pay wise. So I was like, right, what can I do? Because I was open, I'll do whatever. I'm not really bothered. And so I looked and I found a job that I really, really wanted. It was like in a research post. But the interview process was taking too long, and I managed to get another job in the meantime, and I was kind of like an interview for it, and I got offered it, and I was like, oh, I'm like, what do I do? So I ended up just taking it anyway, and it was the best decision that I ever made, because now I'm in a job where I have an office to myself. It's really quiet. I have complete control over my schedule, and I don't feel any stress at all. I don't have any overbearing managers who don't know what they're doing. I have no kind of like problems that I had before. I still have the ability to lecture and teach people, as I had in my old job, but it's less. I have no marking, because that was another thing that was making me really unhappy in my old job, was the severe amount of marking that I had to do. You know, I'm talking like 80 pieces of work to mark that take like half an hour each, every 6 weeks. Like, that's how extensive the marking was. It was ridiculous, and you had no extra time to do it in. You just had to kind of find time, and it would encroach on your personal life and stuff. Don't have to do that anymore. Literally, I've got like the dreamiest job. Like, the job is perfect for me. Obviously, if it was if you had a different personality type and you were really extroverted and you wanted to like be seeing people all the time, then it probably wouldn't be great for you, because, you know, I'm in an office on my own all day. But it's kind of, well, I have one-to-ones and stuff with students, so I see them quite regularly, but it's a perfect job for me. And if I hadn't have made that jump and just decided, you know what, let's just quit the job, I would never have got it. I would have never have been in that position. I would have never have got the job. I would never be now enjoying my job. And I've got a completely different perspective on work now as well, in that I get paid for my time whilst I'm at work to do work tasks. Outside of that, I don't think about work anymore. I don't bring any work home. I don't do overtime. I don't do any of that stuff that I had to do before, that was an expectation before. And my mind's lighter, and I feel much better for it. And it means that now I'm not kind of in that mindset of I have to stick in this job forever, like I can just choose a different job. But now I'm more mindful, and I ask during interviews what the working conditions like. I ask like how noisy the environments are. I ask what their favourite thing is about their workplace, to see if they get on with people and stuff like that. Like, I ask all these questions to kind of feel out if it's the right place for me. And I think that is probably the takeaway message. Does your personality fit your workplace? Because if not, you need to find somewhere else, because there's always better jobs out there, always. People always say, oh, the grass isn't greener on the other side. Trust me, it is in some cases. Yes, if you go somewhere and it's the same type of job and you've got the same issues, then it's going to be the same. But think about the job that you've chosen to do. Sometimes we've chosen it for the wrong reasons. Sometimes we've chosen it for money reasons. Sometimes we've chosen it because someone told us we'd be good at it. We've not chosen it for ourselves. And you need to kind of assess it and think, am I a good fit for this job, or am I a good fit for this organisation? Because as well, the same job differs between organisations also. But what I would say is, like, really think about, is it good for you? Because what I did is I stayed in a job for too long and it made me really unwell, and I knew all along that it wasn't right for me, and that I wasn't a good fit for it, but I kind of was in denial, and it took me a really long time. You know, I was doing all that reframing and stuff like that, and I think in your gut you just know, whether something's right for you or not. And my old role was not right for me, whereas this one, it really is. And you know, in future when I go into other roles, that's what I'm going to be thinking about. You know, will I fit within this role? Will I be good at this role? In terms of my personality, because you know, your personality and how it is not something that you can really change, not, you know, overnight. So if you're going to have to put up with certain things, you've got to make sure that they're not going to affect you like too much. So yeah, see whether or not you should be quitting your job or not. I would say, you know, quit if you really hate it, because life is too short. You could get hit by a bus tomorrow and you won't be living anymore, and you know, it's not going to have been worth it.